Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're working on this 2010 Toyota Highlander. In this video we're going to be replacing the factory radio with a doubled-in touchscreen that's a Sony that features Apple Carplay and Android Auto. Let's get started. Alright, so before we kind of jump into things, we got to get this factory radio on out. Now, it's not too hard, most of which is actually just held in with clips here, but essentially we need to remove the AC controls down below and the vents up above, which expose the bolts that hold the radio in. So to get started, we're going to drop down our glove box here, and really this lower piece needs to come out of the way. So what we're going to do is just put the key in the ignition. We're going to pull this all the way back, make sure your emergency brake's on so we don't roll away here. And then from that point, what we're going to do is just kind of find a space to get started. But it's one bezel up and around the AC controls, and we're going to try to pop this on out, all as one piece. Just like that. The AC controls may come with it, but that's okay because they need to come out anyways. Keep working this around. Okay, there we are here. Okay, once that's out of the way, let's disconnect our harnesses, one from the aux port, the other from the power socket. Put that off to the side. Next, we can pull our AC controls down. Put the car back in park. Now, above the radio is these vents, which also do need to come out. Kind of work your panel tool in, just get those to pop on out, and once those are out the way, you have the two 10 millimeters below and two up above. Okay, once those are out, the radio should come on free. Give it a kind of a tug on both sides. That should come on out. Now you're going to have a series of harnesses to unplug. Go ahead, disconnect your clock harness. Then your radio will have a variation of harnesses too as well. Move that final harness. Okay, now at this point of time, the radio does have the airbag light indicator there. So while this is unplugged, this harness here, do not turn on the key or put the key in the ignition because we don't want to trip the airbag light on the dash, because that may be an expensive fix at the dealer to take care of. With this radio on out, let's head over to the bench and show you the parts we need to install an aftermarket doubled-in radio in its place. Alright, so here at the bench with the radio removed, the parts that we're going to need for our install, first and foremost, the radio we've chosen to go with is this Sony XAV AX100. This features both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as Bluetooth, AM, FM, USB. This does not have any aux, it doesn't have a CD or DVD drive, strictly a multimedia unit. Now to accommodate that in the factory location, we have this pack dash kit here. It's the TOYK989. It accommodates both a single DIN and a double DIN radio. Wiring here, now it kind of just depends on your trim level. Our trim level is the base model. It doesn't have steering wheel controls, it doesn't have JBL factory amplified sound system. It's just basic 4-speaker system. So all we need is the Metro 70-1761 harness. If we did have steering wheel controls, I would suggest the Crux SWRTY-61S, or if you have the JBL factory sound system, you can have the amplified version of the Crux harness. Depending on your trim level, you may need one harness versus the other, so check the description. We'll have all that information there and linked for your convenience. Outside of this, we have a Bluetooth mic that goes with our radio, and because the USB is on the back of the radio, we're going to do a flush mount USB adapter in one of the blanks, which will make a nice, easy, and simple location for us to access that USB for CarPlay on the go. So first thing that we need to do is grab our radio's wiring harness here, the wiring that goes with the radio, and our wiring harness adapter, and start marrying up colors, soldering. But essentially we're going to build our harness and get the wiring all completed. Okay, so what we've done here is stripped both ends. What we're going to do is match color for color, and we have heat shrink on our end here, so as soon as those connections cool after we solder them, we can move them up and over those connections and shrink it down with the heat gun. Like I said, if you don't want to solder, you can use butt connectors or crimp caps, but we like to use solder, at least here in the garage. It has a nice, strong, solid connection. Alrighty, so we got everything soldered up, matching color for color here. And really, at this point of time, all we need to do is move our heat shrink up and over our connections, and we'll shrink them down with the heat gun. Alright, so as our connections have now cooled here, just to quickly review our wiring, the special connections that we did, we grounded our parking brake, because on Sony's you can still do that. You don't need a bypass unit. So we grounded our parking brake, and then our antenna power circuit, our solid blue one, we just tied it into the red and also left a little pigtail out to power backup camera. So we combined that all into one. Other than that, literally color for color. So at this point in time, what we're going to do is now wrap our harness in Testa tape just to protect the wiring a little bit more in the dash. Okay, so our harness is all done and prettied up. We left our reverse trigger wire purple white out because we're doing a backup camera in a separate video. And we left our amplifier turn on wire in case we do add an amp down the road. It's nice to have that accessible. And then an extra accessory wire to power the camera in case we want to run it off accessory instead of just on the reverse light power. So that's all done, good to go. At this point, let's now move our attention over to the radio. Alright, so before we jump into assembling the dash kit around our new aftermarket radio, we have to remove these support studs off the factory bezel. Now it's a small Phillips. There's 4 of them, and each support has 2 screws, so there will be 8 in total that we need to remove. Okay, so we got those tabs on here. We just transferred them from the old radio to the new radio using the same hardware from the old radio. Got them all mounted up. Now the next thing we're going to do, since we're doing a doubled in, is we don't need this center support brace. So we're going to cut both ends, and then we'll use a file and make sure those are nice and smooth. Alright, so at this point of time, we got everything transferred over. We got our buttons and our airbag. The radio's all mounted up. And we got our clock up above, an information display. So, what we need to do from this point forward is take our wiring harness and our Bluetooth mic. Let's head over to the car and begin getting everything else reinstalled. Alright, so we're back here in the car. Now we're ready to get the radio reinstalled. The one that we've gotten all prepped on the bench, ready to go. So the first thing we need to do is grab our wiring harness. Now our wiring harness will plug into the factory plugs here. Now this third plug, this generally is your aux plug. You'll have an aux in here. If you want to retain your factory aux, which we're not doing today, I'll also include the link to that separate harness down in the description in case you want that. If you also have the steering wheel control version or the JBL version of your vehicle, those wiring harness adapters come with the aux retention cable, so you don't have to buy it separately. But in our case, since we don't have steering wheel controls or JBL, you could essentially purchase one separately to retain the factory aux that's down here. And if you have a radio that the aux port's on the back, that's how you would retain it. Again, it's this plug right. Okay, so with our wiring harness now connected, what we can do is now connect our radio. So we're going to grab our harnesses here. Alright, now before we start screwing everything in, let's go ahead and do a quick test just to ensure everything is working. Great, booting up so far.
HelloFresh has a ton of quick and easy recipes which are
perfect. That's working great. That's exactly what we want. At this point, since we confirmed that works, let's go ahead and continue to reassemble the dash. Okay, that's about it for this install. Radio looks great, fits in the dash really nice. We also did a USB little mod down here in the center console. We happen to have a blank in that spot, and we popped a USB in there. We'll link that USB down in the description in case you want to do the same, but that was a perfect location for our CarPlay, and we used an extension to run it all the way up to the radio. That's about it for this install. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe because we post great content on the channel all the time. If you want to see how we did a backup camera on this, we'll have a link down in the description as well as a card up above that walks you through basically step by step on how to get one installed yourself. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you in the next video.